If you don't have a solar generator or something else to generate power, you're not going to have any. And all of the gas stations are run on electricity, so they will not pump, so you can't go further than a tank of gas anywhere you're going. They're going to do it, so you're going to be quarantined in your house. So if you don't have enough food or water, it's going to be pandemonium. And that can happen very quickly. I talked to one of my friends. My brother-in-law was the executive assistant to the premier in our province of Nova Scotia, where I live right now, Nova Scotia. And his best friend, Barry, is the senior planner for the Canadian government. And they've calculated out that in North America, in the U.S. and Canada, if there was a shutdown of all services because of Code Red, more than half the population of the United States and Canada would be dead in 30 days without war, famine, a geological disorder, or war, or nuclear war. Within 30 days, with no highways and no services, more than half the population would be dead. So you better be aware that this is coming. They're planning for it. You need to have heritage seeds, canned dried foods. You want to have what I call local citizen groups. I personally am not a big fan of militia. I think it's better to have neighborhood groups. I think people need to start networking. And I think that how large the group needs to get is based on your ability to how many people you need to have a watch, whether it's in your group or neighborhood area. And your worst enemy is your unprepared neighbors. So if you're not handing out these CDs and telling people about what's going to happen, they may spit in your face, but when things start to happen, they're going to beg you to tell them more. Remember, you're a what I call mustard seed carpenter. You have a carpenter's wedge, a bag of mustard seeds, and a hammer. And in the little cracks of their stupid skull, you're going to drive in these mustard seeds of common sense. And when the water of disaster comes upon their head, the seeds are going to grow whether they want them or not, and their roots are going to start splitting their very, very thick skull. And they are going to ask you and beg you and crawl on their knees to please tell them how they're going to survive. Because that's what we're going to be facing. Now I'm going to tell you something more that's very, very disturbing. The most common story that I receive from my contacts in the NSA and these above government agencies with the bioterrorism and nuclear terrorism is that there are pre-placed nukes in U.S. cities in at least 22 cities. They are maintained under Project Omega by Israeli Mossad and Russian GRU nuclear agents. And one of them actually told me that they handle them like bananas, that they literally service these like bananas. I said, what do you mean bananas? He said, well, bananas go bad. They get brown spots, and you got to throw them out, even if they look like they might be good to eat. And he said they're very critical, so you got to test the Crytron switches monthly, which are fast switches that do picosecond electrical pulses, and they have to be very accurate. And you have to have very, very critical levels of radioisotopes, especially when you have small nukes. You have to have special types of materials. You need to have special things like lithium and some of these other special elements in very high grade, and if they degrade even slightly, you won't have enough slowing of the protons and neutrons to create a proper nuclear explosion when you have an explosive that's the size of a large softball. So, they're all about. And I know what 22 cities they are. And Los Angeles is one of them. You need to have dressings, sutures, emergency first aid kits, blankets, portable stretchers, limb splints, vitamins, herbal medicines, regular medicines for 6 months. How many people here have 6 months? Their drug plans won't allow them. Potassium iodate, insulin, decontamination kits for radiation. Is the government telling you what to do? And they tell you, get duct tape and plastic. Radiation detection. You need a rad detect, which is a directional detector for all 4 types of radiation, or a nuke alert, which is not quite as good. We have 2 sources for the rad detect. We have one from Earth Pulse with Dr. Nick Begich, and we have another one from the nuke pills. The nuke pills people have been tough to get service, but I'm hoping I'll get them going because 2007 I think is going to be the year when one of our cities or more is going to light up, because they want to cow us with either a pandemic or a nuke in a U.S. city or a dirty bomb to bring out martial law and to force us into civil detention facilities, even if it's just 2 weeks, to prove that it's okay. You need to have walkie-talkies, mirrors, which are good for signaling, Morse code books, signal fire training, all the kind of skills you need when you're a good Boy Scout. But if you don't have these skill sets, you're in a lot of trouble. CB radios, network, ham radio operators, all those kind of things. Clothes changes, extra shoes, boots. You might think this is stupid mentioning all these things, but I tell people they need to start thinking about it now, and they need to have a run-and-go pack in their car, and they should have maybe off-road maps and trailers, GPS and compass, flares, LED lights, sterno, all those kind of things. If they don't have these things, if they're in a big city, they have to have a plan to flee. And if at the first signs of things going on, you don't flee, you'll be trapped. And I talked to the people at FEMA and all these other people, and what they're planning on doing is setting a double perimeter around all large U.S. cities. The inner perimeter will be immediately around the circumferential highway around big cities like Los Angeles and Denver and elsewhere. And then about 30 miles out, they'll have an international force. That international force will be told to shoot to kill for any vehicles crossing or even across open areas of the desert or anywhere else. Okay? And they can hit you with non-lethal weapons, missiles, anything you can imagine, or ROVs, which is remote operational vehicles, both ones that fly and ones that you can't see coming at you because they're coming at you at 17,100 miles an hour. Unless you got real good vision. There's a book by Frank Stoltz. It's half of it's a novel and the other half is preparedness protocols. And I got a 14-page document I kind of distilled from the U.S. Army War College. And I'm writing some bigger documents on preparedness for chemical, biological, and nuclear. But the government has done squat. I didn't do this for pay. I did this because I know our civilization is about to end. And it's all been hair trigger set up on purpose. Just like you set up a campfire and you finally throw the matches underneath the little chips of paper because you got kindling. What to do to prepare? Well, listen to the show. It's on RBN. You can go to 2 websites. Most of the above government technologies. I've got some new information, for example, last week from Harlan Gerard on mind control. And I do post classified information on my show. If anybody here is an NSA or other agent, hopefully you'll learn something. And you realize I'm your best buddy, and I want to save your ass. So take notice of this because I have the brains and the ability and the guts to try to save you and everybody else, whereas your government is going to treat you like a brown shirt, and you'll be the first one shot in the back of the head. So if you're listening to this in the DVD later or live, you better realize they're going to take you down because their plan is to transition to remote operational vehicles, cyborgs, weaponized animals like baboons that they have in a secret facility down near Galveston, Texas, where they have them set up so they have remote operating controls so they can put them on kill mode, and they have these nano armor on them so they can stop pretty well anything. An 80-pound baboon can pick up a 300-pound man and tear him literally in two. They can run at 35 miles an hour, and they can jump 15 to 20 feet in the air. But I don't think you're going to outrun these. And their plan is to create super soldiers. I had Mark Zeller on my show, and I was very familiar with the mesenchymal stem super soldier program. Their idea is to actually inject these. They did in Gulf War I, so that tells you how long ago they had this. Mark put on 6 inches in height and 100 pounds in weight in 6 months. His health is ruined because he also had experimental AIDS vaccine as well as Mycoplasma fermentans incognita proven and confirmed by Dr. Nicholson. You can also listen on Galaxy 5, Channel 17, and also on C-band satellite and shortwave worldwide. It's 12.180. 12.180, that's RBN Live. And my show is 2 to 4, Monday to Fridays, out of Austin, Texas, Republic Broadcasting. We also need to have people pick up micro broadcasting, so without a Federal Communications license, you can actually do micro broadcasting for as little as $5,000 with just an FM micro broadcasting in your city or your town. And if you get a string of these, we could cover a huge area because this is an information and it's a spiritual war. And we need some sugar daddies. If there's people that have some big bucks, believe me, I'm going to be elbow to elbow, if I'm not dead, to billionaires and millionaires whose money will be seized when they won't go along with the New World Disorder. So you better stick in your hand in your mattress because we're all going to be sent to these facilities. They already have us color-coded. They already have your database. It doesn't matter how rich or poor. You could be George Soros, and if you do the wrong thing, they're going to yank your chain. So it doesn't matter how much money you have. You can be a billionaire, millionaire, movie star, whatever. Your history. And so we need some sugar daddies so we can get my show and the other shows in Republic Broadcasting Network on Sirius Satellite before they shut down freedom of speech completely. Because if we don't get this word out, it's not only the end of our civilization, it's the end of our planet. And I'm going to show you why. Because this is only talk number 1. So we're going to have a CD of this. Copy anything. I tell people copyright. Anything on my shows, any talks I have, you can purchase them and help us support us. You can copy it and distribute it. You have my permission to get it over the damn place. And if you want to translate in any language, Swahili, Russian, Japanese, for God's sakes, do it. This is not an American problem. This is a global problem. And it goes beyond that because we are in a galactic war, and I'm going to talk about that too. We need to weed out the real patriots. There's a lot of gatekeepers. There's a lot of people